The most affordable direct drive system is available for more than a year now, and I'm sure you will find important information on the comment section about reliability from actual users, which is something I can't comment deeper with few weeks use, but what can I give as perspective is how it feels in use and how it compares to the current gear we have on the market those days, combined with the 100 kilo Loadcell pedals from Cammus. The necessary disclaimer first, that set have been sent to me under the same condition as most of the gear you see in this channel, and that is making video and share experience with you guys. That being said, there are hundreds of reviews on those particular products, and this will be just another opinion from someone who is constantly testing new stuff. I will start with the negatives about the pedals, but don't worry, there are lots of positives too about each Cammus products considering the prices those days. The first annoying part, which can be easy fix for those, is the mounting bolts, which sticks out from the plate and make it hard to be set on flat surface. Ellipse bolts and holes can easily fix that, and I am really surprised that they missed this small detail considering they give so much attention to the design of the pedal arms and plates. And talking about the plates, all those cuts maybe make them look fancy, but I would rather prefer the comfort of flat surface instead of interesting look, which I never look at it as my fits cover it in use anyway. Flat is always better with socks and shoes and reduce production cost. The bottom plate can be also a bit short depending on our sitting position, but in my case it's just enough, which is another unnecessary workload to cut the part in front, sacrificing useful heel space for little fancy look. So those are my main complaints, and it's sad for me to see the design choices which increase production cost to become negative points, considering Cammus are a company which really try to bring the best value on the sim market. Now, $250 for 3 pedals plus base plate, 100 kilo load cell and damper kit is quite impressive, that's for sure. Aluminum body, ball bearing, 3 slots for the clutch and throttle for stiffness adjustment, enough threads for the spring preload and simple spacers for travel adjustment is all I want from those pedals. When I judge pedals, those adjustments are the 3 most important parts, as they can cover a wide range of personal likes, and here is possible. The adjustments itself won't be as easy as some of the competition, which costs 3 to 4 times more, but if that's the budget we have, little extra work unscrewing few bolts worth the cost save. There is no plate height or lateral adjustment, but they are quite long and must cover different fit sizes, and the resolution of the whole sensors is good enough to be precise in short travel settings too. It is really good to see that with the same springs I can achieve wide range of stiffness and travel, which will cover many people. Going to the brake, which usually is the biggest change for those who comes from simple pedals, I have to admit I'm very happy with after tweaking it to my personal preference. I can max out the 100 kilo load cell, and it feels I need the same amount of pressure for the 100 kilo settings on the Simu Cube, which means placement of the entire construction and the load cell is very good. Originally those came with spring and elastomer combined for those stage, but creates way too much travel for my personal like, and the 2 stages are very different in compression, which creates a unnatural feeling. But again, we can limit the spring compression with spacer, but I prefer to eliminate the spring and use just the elastomer for about 20mm movement, and that elastomer combined with the damper kit is super stable. All I had to do is just add preload and clean the input from the software. That is personal preference, of course, but the important part is we have the option for different travel and feeling, which is something I love to see evaluating pedals. The damper kit is the cherry of the cake, as that can further adjust the total control of the input we want to achieve. Another important thing I suggest is to find out the maximum compression of the load cell and send the damper kit as hard stop, as the damper is attached separately from the compressing mechanism, and can prevent overload of the load cell itself. Also, if you want even shorter movement or less power to maxed out, like 70 or even 50 kilo total, you can move the damper even further and calibrate in the software. So, I can't be nothing but positive about the end result from that set in terms of settings variations, and once they are perfectly tuned for my personal like with little more effort of course, they become as competitive as most of the Loadcell pedals for the fraction of the cost. My personal suggestion to Cammus is to make flat face plates and stop cutting the front of the base, which will save them cost and improve comfort, plus proper bolts on the bottom for that flat surface. Other than that, 250 before duties is impressive achievement, that's for sure. Maybe not the best design, but definitely the best price for what we can achieve with those. Now, moving to the C5, which is full direct drive system including steering wheel, shifters and buttons for another 250. I think Cammus are very misrepresented in terms of force feedback quality, as every time I test their bases I am capable to achieve perfectly smooth experience with great amount of effects, just as in Moza and SimMagic motors. Also, every time I test Cammus bass on the expos, they have terrible settings with tons of damper and friction, which gives very wrong impressions. For me, the most important part of each bass I test is how much details I can get from the perfectly smooth experience, and all the different software have the filters to achieve that. Here is how I start the settings. First, I will take the damper, friction and spring down to 0. Then I will start playing with the smoothness filter, which in this case is called CF filter, and pull it down till I get rid from that grainy motor feeling. So my suggestion is to pull the Q factor up to 100%, and for iRacing, R factor, Automobilista to Assetto Corsa and Le Mans, start pulling the CF filter from 100 down till you reach that smooth feeling. Just pull down the slider 10% at the time and try to feel the difference. At around 50-40% becomes super smooth, but if you go below that, like 30-20, all the small effects become very numb. You can find the balance you are happy with just with that single filter, when you are good with that. If the wheel feels light around the center, or you get too much oscillation, add 5% damper and friction at the time and try to give attention to the small effects and the speed of your inputs. This is personal like, but with those 3 filters you can achieve exactly the same things as with other manufacturers, and as I've said, Cammus force feedback is just as good as SimMagic and Moza, which you know I love. That being said, for Assetto Corsa Competizione, which have very high frequency feedback, you can put the CF filter up to 100% and still get brutally smooth experience with tons of effects. That is the sim which you can get the maximum of this bass, as the effects are like 20% more noticeable than any other sim. My point is, whoever said Cammus feedback doesn't match the rest, I feel like it haven't played enough with those filters. I have no reason to put it above or below the competition. They all do the same things, and for now only Simocube and VNM are like 20% more alive from the rest I have tested here, and that difference is not game changer, at least for me personally. All that being said, let's go back to the C5. The 5 Nm holding torques and 7 Nm peak is not crazy power, but for first bass or coming from Logitech G29 for example, will be next level experience. Because of the small diameter of the wheel, the forces are sweet and enough to fully understand the car behavior, and the reaction speed match the DD World. In terms of control, I really don't feel limited after a few hours practice and get used to those lower forces because I'm coming from way bigger bases. Also, the build quality looks impressive if I have to compare it to the Logitech G29, which is like night and day difference. This just looks and feels very solid. The buttons have good feedback and the rotaries are stiff as some of the $1,000 wheels. The 3-digit display have brightness adjustment and 3 functions from speed in kilometers or miles per hour to gear, 5 presets for the LED lights, plus full color adjustment and 2 modes for the RPMs. Also 2 modes for each rotary with single input from left to right and 12 positions. Now, $500 for proper pedals, steering wheel, DD bass with all the necessary buttons is for sure the most affordable and still proper gear to get started and still get the most of the experience we are taking from way more expensive products. The more powerful equipment is better and there is no question about it, but with that setup you can really get the very basics and important parts of the hobby and learn driving with the healthy habits. In my opinion, is like you are getting 50% of the best possible experience for like 10% of the cost. If that is what you can afford now, it is absolutely enough to become pro in that hobby. There are still super fast drivers using old G27s, but with this the driving fun will be really next level. Cammus are really different, pushing the low high-end gear for quality which surpass the asking prices, and I hope they receive the proper recognition. Considering the current market, I can't complain about anything. My only hope is to see them push in that direction, as not everyone is willing to spend tons for that hobby, and as much more our community grows, that much better for all of us.